Hello, everybody. It's Big Al with more great news and content from Lord of the Rings Rise to War. So, this might be the most important free to play video ever. We're going to be talking about a cheaper meta. So, right now, pretty much your meta commanders, you're looking at Dane, Undying or Gil, Gandalf the White, Sauron, Witch King, Sauron, and King of Men is kind of also sliding in that category as well. So, I'm going to talk about the meta and the cheaper version of the meta. So, and these are ways to get some of the same skills or similar skills from them. So, first and foremost, I'm going to talk about the easiest one, and that is Dane. Okay, Dane is the best damage dealer in the game. Okay, first off, he has 3 damage skills. You have Durin's Blood, which is the hardest hitting damage skill. And what people don't forget to take into account is that this has a 2-round preparation, cooldown, whatever. So it fires off, if he doesn't get stunned, in 3, 6, and 9. Okay, 3 times. Where the rest of these skills with the 1-round cooldown or preparation hit 5 times in a battle. 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. But it's doing the same amount of damage as those skills, or maybe just slightly less. But that's because it's only hitting 3 times instead of 5. So, he has Durin's Blood, the hardest hitting skill. He has King Under the Mountain, which hits 3 enemy formations, and it also buffs the next system damage, same as Durin's Blood. And then he has Iron Foot, which also throws a stun in there, which that actually can be very big. So, the cheaper version for us free-to-play players would be Gimli. He has 3 damage skills. He has Durin's Blood, which is, again, the best damage dealing skill. Then he has Experienced Warrior, which damages 2 enemy formations. It's got a 1-round cooldown. It also stacks attack when you're dealing damage. So it can get kind of high. You can get, when it's maxed out, an extra 35 total commander attack. 30 from the stack and 5 from just the regular buff. So when you're sitting at 200 or 210, that's getting you over that 240 threshold, which can amount to a lot of damage. And then he has Lord of the Glittering Caves, which is his 3rd damage skill, with the 1-round cooldown as well, and that's hitting 2 enemy formations. It drops the target's defense, and healing effects received by the target minus 50% for 2 rounds. Okay, that part's not a big deal. But right there is your cheaper version of the meta for Dane. Plain and simple. His stats are a little bit lower, but again, he's a legendary commander, not a mythic. I have mine ascended, okay, because that's what I could do. But he is the cheaper version of Dane. You can also kind of say Bjorn at the same time just because it's damage dealer, but Bjorn has some different skills in there. There really isn't a cheaper one than Bjorn. Cheaper version than Bjorn. Okay, next. This one is big. Let's go. We're going to talk about Gil. And there's 2 that I'm placing together. Gil and Undying. And the reason for this is Gil's biggest flex is right here on his Kinley Kin. And it's for the first 2 rounds, elf units and 3 allied formations have a 60% chance to evade. And it goes to 70% when it's maxed out. That is huge. So, in most formations, Gil's going to be running as the tank. You're ensuring that almost ensuring that your other 3 formations are not going to take any damage the first 2 rounds. His next one is for the first 5 rounds, attack and defense of elf units in 3 allied formations, plus whatever, after it modifies. Okay, it does increase to 4 formations, but that's not important because you're not going to be running 4 elf formations. But right there, he's got the evade, and then he's helping the units attack and also defense in those units on those other 3 formations. Now let me scroll down to if I could speak, to the Undying. Okay, his biggest skill right here is the Undead Commander. Grants 2 allied formations a 90% chance to evade damage taken from each of the first 4 hits. It goes to 3 formations, and then it also increases to 5 hits. Okay, that's big. That's generally speaking 2 rounds. His next support skill is his healing skill. In round 5, the 3 allied formations recover 1,000 HP. It's modified by focus. Okay. Additionally, restores 300% hit points to the commander's formation unit once. So, if the first part doesn't target the commander, Undying's formation, this other part will. So, you're generally going to get 3 or 4 of your formations healed. That's kind of huge in that 5th round, and that can be really big. And then he has a couple damage skills. So, the cheapest version of him would be, let me scroll all the way back to the top, Boromir. I know, you're thinking, Boromir? He's an epic commander. Also why I recommend ascending him. Him and Haragon have this skill, but I'll also talk about Haragon in the same. But Warden, 3 allied formation units gain 45% chance to evade damage taken from the first 5 hits when it is when it's at level 5. But he's also gaining HP, which that's 10% can be pretty big. Yes, it's 45% chance compared to a 70 or 90% chance, but we're talking cheaper version of the meta. Okay. Next, he has this support skill that raises his defense. Him and his unit's defense, which is huge for tanking, can be used just for support if you're running a dual tank, melee, ranged units. There's a lot of versatility inside of Boromir as well. And this could be increased to 10 stacks. So that could be huge. His other one is attack of 3 allied formations. And then, it becomes 4 after it's 4 formations after it's maxed out. So he has evade, he has some defense, or he can have some attack as well. Okay, so right there, that's pretty much Gil, just with a smaller percentage on his evade. Now let's go down to Haragon. So, Haragon is not as well used. I think Boromir is the choice for the cheaper version, but Haragon's skills as well. He has Warden, which is the same as Boromir for the 45% chance. He has Red Arrow, which does restore 200 hit points to 2 allied formation units. Okay, so like Undying, he throws some heal in there a little, but it's only 200%, and it fires off every other round, and it's to 2 allied formations. And then he has a couple damage skills, which I don't see his damage skills doing any real damage unless you are very high respect level on him. That's why when I'm talking about the cheaper version of Undying or Gil, Boromir's the only one. But I threw him in there because I know some people will comment, well, what about Haragon? He has that skill. But it's also about the rest of his skills. Next, this is the other obvious one. You have Gandalf the White. That is the meta. And one of the reasons for this is White Council. Okay, White Council is one of the most important skills in the game. 4 allied formations receive 18% less damage taken from the first 7 hits when it's maxed out, but it also modifies by focus. So, it can actually get pretty high. His next skill is White Rider. For the first 3 rounds, damage received by 2 enemy formations plus 25%. Then it increases to 4 rounds, and then it's 3 targets instead of 2. So, for those people with Dane, Gimli, you're talking round 3 with Durin's Blood. If they're not stunned or maddened, that could be a huge, an extra 25%. So Durin's Blood, I think, is 700%. 25% of that is of 700% for Durin's Blood is an extra what? 175% of what Durin's Blood would do, or something like that. So that can amount to a lot. Next, he had, well, didn't mean to do that. Hold on. Next, he has 2 damage skills, the Wizard and then the White. And a lot of people use the White because it also gives it a chance for stun. Okay, so now the cheaper version of Gandalf the White is Gandalf the Grey. He is a legendary commander. I ascended him because I wanted his relic. But let's take a look at his skills. Oh, look at that. White Council again. Perfect. Then he has 2 other support skills. He has Mithandril, which gives 60% chance for dual blows in the first 4 rounds. Or he has a healing skill as well. So, but his damage skill does not amount to anything. So there is that cheaper version. Next, this one, people, listen to this whole part before you start yelling at me or anything like that. Saruman. He is becoming part of the meta. He is a strong, focused damage dealer. But Saruman's biggest flex is right here in this Head of White Council. Because it deals focus damage twice to the 3 enemy formations. Saruman's biggest helper is that he kills off enemy White Council so fast. Every one of his skills hits multiple people, hits multiple times. This one does the same amount of poison damage as it does the focus. There's an extra hit on the White Council. Okay, so his biggest flex... Damn, recorder shut off. So, to finish with Saruman, his biggest flex is killing White Council as fast as possible. Yes, he has madness, but honestly, it's all about killing White Council. And people are going to argue with me on this, so let me finish. Shadow would be the cheaper version of Saruman when it comes to killing White Council. Okay, he's got the Black Numenorian for 1 instance of damage. He has this for another instance of damage, and it targets 3 formations. Then he also has this one with 90% dual blows. 90% chance for 6 rounds. So when it comes to killing White Council, he would be the cheaper version as Saruman, and he makes a good damage dealer. So does Saruman, just Saruman is focused and Shadow is more physical. So next, we are going to talk about Witch King. Okay, Witch King is all about debuffs. Let's look. Attack, focus, and defense of 2 enemy commanders, minus 20 for 5 rounds, and it modifies by commands. Yes, if you're using a large unit, you gain madness and stun immunity with this. He has the Nazgul for the damage as well, and at 10 it gives stuns. Lord of the Nazgul is another one. At level 5, it inflicts stun, 50% chance to inflict stun on the target. And then he has this Black Captain, which is another one for dual blows. So, a cheaper version of him. And he's not used by a lot, but I have seen a few of them. But I'm looking at his skills, and they look kind of similar. A lot cheaper version. Mouth of Sauron. Okay, you got the Black Numenorian. Okay, both of them had it. This one, you have for the first 2 rounds, attack of 3 formations on both sides, minus 25%. Well, here's the thing. If you're using focus damage dealer, like Saruman, Galadriel, guess what? This doesn't affect them. Hey, but it does affect the attack of 3 formations on both sides. So, pretty much, you're hurting physical damage dealers. The Messenger. This one looks like it could be huge. For the first 5 rounds when it's maxed out, normal attack damage dealt by 4 enemy commanders is minus 50%. Yes, it is normal attacks, not the skill damage, but that still adds up. And then you have this buff for attack of medium units in 3 allied formations, and that's modified by command stat. So he could be a cheaper version for Witch King. Next, it's hard to compare anyone to this one. I think he is the most impactful commander in the game, and that is Sauron. You have the important skills of the Deceiver, which damage received by 3 enemy formations plus 10%, modified by focus. You have madness chances. Then you go to his other one, attack, defense, and focus of 3 enemy commanders minus 15%, modified by focus. It's immune by stun, and then it goes to all 4 commanders. Those are the biggest stat reduction in the game. Then you have his Lord of Gifts that has a chance for madness, and Gthor for a chance of stun that also has Keen Eye. So it's hard to compare anybody to him, and like I said, he is, in my opinion, the most impactful in the game. Well, I was also looking at somebody's skills, Corwin, however you pronounce it. So let's take a look. He has this, damage received by 2 enemy formation units, plus 6%. It gets modified by command stat, okay, and then it also drops defensive dwarf units in 2 formations. Let's be clear, so many people run dwarves in their formations. Then this one, damage dealt by 2 enemy formation units, minus 10%, modified by command, and then it also drops the attack of 2 elf units in the enemy's formation. Okay, so we have damage dealt, damage received. Lord of Calamity, you have your attack of the 3 enemy formations minus 10, modified by command, and then it's effective against all enemies when it is maxed out. Okay, that could be huge. Minus attack on damage dealers is always a good thing. Yes, it's not as much as Sauron, but again, this is the cheaper version. And then you have the defense of 2 enemy formations, minus 15, modified by command, and it also modifies the healing that they can receive as well with command stat. So like I said, Sauron's the most impactful. It's hard to really put anyone in the same category as him when you're talking cheaper meta. But hey, this guy might be it. Just something to think about. And then we have a couple more that are kind of obvious. Aragorn, King of Men. Now, people are running him 2 different ways. You can run him as a damage dealer. You can run him as a support. So first, you have Andril for his damage skill, then Strider, which also has Keen Eye. Okay. Now his support skills. You have Elisor, that is a healing skill to 2 allied formation units. Okay. Then you also have King of Men, and this one can be kind of big. For the first 5 rounds, damage dealt by 3 allied formation units plus 15%, and when affected by effects such as stun or madness, their damage received minus 30%. The damage increase effect is modified by command, and then when man units are stunned or affected by madness, the damage received reduction effect will be effective for the whole duration. So, like I said, he can be run either way, as a damage or as a support, and a lot more people are running him as a support. Now, let's go to his cheaper version, which is not going to be any surprise, is regular Aragorn, if I can find him in my list. There he is. So, first, let's look at his damage skills. Andril, Strider. Hey, those are the same ones for King of Men. Now let's look at his support skills. you have the Dunitive Chieftain. Increases the defense of 3 allied formations by 10. It's modified by defense stat, and it gives your units hit points. Here's the thing. Commander defense is probably the least useful of the stats. But so many items are going to have it straight out. So even if you have 50, okay, at level 10, you're going to get 5 modifies. So increases the defense of 3 allied formations by 15. So that's not a bad support skill. But you also have hidden air, but the problem is it is tied to man units. Attack of man units in 3 allied formations plus 10, and it's modified by command. It gives damage dealt to melee units, and then this commander gains stun immunity as well. So the stun immunity is great, but it being tied to man, not so much. You're always going to have some commander defense. So you got the Dunitive Chieftain, where, as in King of Men, if you're running him as a damage dealer, you're going to have a heal. This gives you defense. So again, cheaper version of the meta. So, I know a lot of free-to-play players feel like they can't compete because they don't have the meta, or they feel like once they get that commander, they need to use them. Well, if the respect level isn't there, he's not going to do any good, regardless if he's meta or not. So, here's a cheaper version of some commanders that might work in replace of the meta. A couple of them are kind of far-fetched, a little bit out there that no one really uses, but who knows? They could substitute. So, I hope this gives you an idea of some of the things that you can do. Think about the commanders. Think about what they do. Who else does similar things if it's easier to get the respect up? So, as always, make the most out of what you got.